holiday that was really kind of created to celebrate stuff. But for people who aren't in relationships, Valentine's Day can be kind of stressful and depressing, depending on how you look at it. You know, like when I was single, I referred to it as Singles Awareness Day.
Yes, right. Sad.
Yeah.
Singles Awareness Day.
Yeah, and it was, you know, it can be very difficult.
Yeah.
But, you know, have fun with it.
Right. Just kind of remember and keep it on the big picture, guys. You know, if you're out there and you're feeling sad or alone right now, Singles Awareness Day, tease yourself about it, you know, jump on it and make fun of it.
Now, there's like specials. There's like deals going on all over the place for Valentine's Day for people who are single.
Oh, wow.
Hooters has a deal where you get like 10 free boneless wings. No, if you go and you tear up a picture of an ex.
Oh my gosh. You get, that's really funny.
Yeah. And then there was I think it was a couple years ago, Dairy Queen had a deal. They had like a Singles Awareness Day blizzard or something like that.
Wow.
Which, here's
Drown your sorrow in dessert.
Yeah, but here's the real killer for me with that was the fact that in this blizzard it had peanut butter.
Okay.
And I have a peanut allergy.
So
it was like a double whammy.
It would kill you. It would kill you to indulge in your singleness.
Right.
Got it. You know, interesting side notes. So on the serious end, Valentine's Day is a day of high risk for, you know, depression and things like suicide. Also interesting, it is also known as statistically the day when the most human hair will be shorn away from bodies. And so it's actually...
Is that true?
Oh yeah. There's an estimate of the metric tonnage of how much pubic hair is going to find its way into the plumbing system. This is true. Yes, it's one of the reasons that human pubic lice is now an endangered species. Is because of the fad of shaving down there. So, interesting side note, Nick. And also...
This is not where I thought this episode was going to go.
Oh, this is exactly... I have pages of this. Pages of data. You'd know that if you were caught up on the script feed. But also interesting side note, the month of the most breakups in America is actually March.
Oh,
yes. Yep. Because people want to be in a relationship for Valentine's Day. They were in a relationship for the holidays. Now spring is coming in March, and Valentine's Day is behind them, and a lot of people actually become single in March. So enjoy those relationships while they last. Enjoy your Valentine's Day.
It's depressing.
That's right. Yeah, be depressed. That's why I listen to this podcast, so I can be depressed and then know the suicide number to call. See, one-stop shop. We have everything you need.
Okay. Yeah, where do you go from there?
Advice.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the first one comes to us from Morgan MSU 2020. Title, My Parents Don't Like My Boyfriend Because He's Black.
Oof.
All right, getting right into the heavy stuff.
Yes.
I've been dating this guy for 4 months now. I'm white and he's black. We go to school together. I'm really starting to fall for this guy. He's really nice, respectful, smart, funny, handsome. We're in the same major, etc. Since my feelings for him are getting stronger, I recently decided to tell my parents about him and our relationship. I showed them pictures of him, and they flipped out. They both said, "You can't date a black guy." Now they're telling me I have to break up with him. They said they are worried about how other people are going to look at me and treat me because I'm dating a black guy. They have not met him in person, and I'm very reluctant to introduce him to my parents if they have those kinds of views. It upsets me that my parents don't approve of him just because of his race. I like him a lot. I don't want to leave him. My parents are being very ignorant, racist, and absurd. How do I handle this situation?
Yikes. It is 2018. That is a powerful little anecdote to read. Nick, have you ever seen the movie Guess Who's Coming Over for Dinner?
No, I want to. It's on my list. Okay. I want to get into watching a lot of the classics.
Well, there's a classic and then there's a remake. And
I haven't seen either.
Oh, the remake is so good. It's with Bernie Mac and Ashton Kutcher. So in the original one, the boyfriend is black.
The original was Sidney Poitier.
Yes. Yeah,
right?
And the family's white and the boyfriend's black. In the new remake, the family's black and the boyfriend's white. And Bernie Mac really doesn't like him.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and so it's this issue of hey, you should date somebody from our own culture, and Ashton Kutcher just doesn't fit in because he's this nerdy white guy, and Bernie's really upset about it. So, but wow, this is real life stuff. That's real life tension. I mean, one of the things, Nick, that I hear her saying is they haven't met him, but she's really reluctant to introduce him to them. And gosh, I mean, my advice right away, I'll tell you this up front. Anybody I've met who has racist views or ignorant views or sexist views, the best way I know to defeat those and to challenge those is to humanize them, to introduce them to a person who breaks down their stereotypes. And so the things that you love about your boyfriend, the things that make him intelligent and stand out, and all the wonderful things that you said he is, he's funny, he's smart, let them meet him. And if they can meet him and spend some time with him, I think, Nick, that will humanize him, and I think that begins to erode whatever fears or misconceptions they might have about him or his culture or his race.
Right.
If it can be cured, that's how I would approach it.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. And I would say I would say data supports that, right? I mean, we see the same trends happening in Congress, where you'll have representatives and senators who are absolutely against gay rights and gay marriage and all that. And
Until
then as soon as a child of theirs comes out, then all of a sudden the tone switches.
Right.
Because now it's like, oh,
I know that.
I know this person. This is a human being. And it completely changes their attitude about it.
I think Ellen has been a big part of that. Like, Ellen has invited Republican senators onto her show and gotten to know them and been friendly. And they kind of realized, gosh, I really like this person. And like, suddenly whatever ideas that I was believing about her or people that she might represent or people like her, they start to fall away. So my advice to the writer is, I mean, first off, holy cow, this is 2018. It's hard to hear this, and it's, oh gosh, Nick, it's a complicated thing, right? Because I feel like obviously the parents are coming to conclusions that most of us would say are ignorant and probably racist and probably not good ideas. At the same time, as a parent, I feel that a parent has the right to weigh in on their child's love life and to give them advice and to give them feedback. Obviously, this is not very good advice, and this is not very acceptable feedback. But I do feel like the answer to this is not just to slam the door shut and say, you guys are not welcome in this part of my story. I don't care what you think. I would really want to bridge that gap. And so my hope is that she doesn't run away from it, but engages in it, lean in, bring him to them, and force them to meet him, and then give a response to who he is as a person and not who he is in the picture on your phone or on your Facebook feed.
Right. Yeah. So what would be your advice, excuse me, to Morgan, MSU 2020, about the dialogue she should have with him in preparation for meeting the parents?
Gosh, that's hard, right? I mean, it sounds like it's a new relationship. It's going really well. That's a hard thing to say. I mean, I don't know.
I wouldn't want to bring him into that situation with him having no idea of the backstory.
Yeah.
That's going on.
You wouldn't, but would you hesitate to tell your significant other, hey, my parents are racist and they're judging you?
But here's the thing. And this is probably a very important distinction to make. Racist might not be the right word.
Okay.
Definitely prejudice. Prejudice deals with our thoughts, our attitudes, our feelings.
Okay.
Racism deals with behavior.
Okay.
So the parents are definitely prejudiced.
Their thinking is out of line, but they're not behaving in a way that is like causing challenges.
Not yet.
Not yet. But they could.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we're definitely dealing with a lot of prejudice here. I wouldn't want. I'm trying to look at this from the perspective of if I had a girlfriend of another race, and if my parents were really bothered by that, how much would I want to prepare her for what's going to happen? There's part of me that's like, well, maybe when they get to know her and meet her, then it's not going to be an issue.
But you feel like you need to tell her.
But I feel like I would need to say, just like, okay, so here's what's kind of going on.
And don't downplay it. Tell them the truth. Don't let them walk in there blind and get, massacred by some weird comment.
But then could you go too far the other way, and where he's now going into the situation defensive?
Yeah. And then it's really hard, right? Because oh gosh, this is tough, Nick. Because if I'm Morgan and I'm trying to control the situation, can you control it? So what are you trying to do? You're trying to tell your boyfriend, hey, here's the deal, but you don't want him to become defensive. You want him to be his own charming self. You don't want him to try too hard, but you also want him to know the score and like to realize, hey, my family's not okay with this entirely because of your race. And I'm embarrassed by that. And I apologize for that. But I really do want them to meet you and see who you are. Oh, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would probably just go at it from the perspective of, I really care about you, that you've got all these wonderful traits that I really like. They will too.
Yeah. And I think also my advice to Morgan would be exactly what you just said. Prep him. And then the second piece is go for it. Introduce him, humanize him, bring him around them more often and put it in their face in a sense. And let them make that move, because most people it's just like the internet, Nick. Most people are really bold online and they'll say horrible things, but then you put them in a room with that same person and now suddenly they can't do it, right?
Right, because it's that cognitive dissonance, right? My belief system is telling me this one thing, but yet I meet this other person,
they don't fit it.
Yeah, they don't fit. So in their minds, they have to resolve that.
Yes. And my thing is this, as a parent myself, I can tell you this. I have a daughter. She's only 2, but I have to already mentally prepare myself for what I'm going to do when she's dating. Nick, I'm against men as a franchise. I hate them all. I don't care. It is equal opportunity, man. I don't care what race or creed you come from. I hate you. I hate you already. You're not good enough for my little girl. I don't care who you are. But, I think that I, as a father, am going to have to appreciate and value any guy that she dates on a one-on-one individual basis, right?
Right.
So I think that's the deal with all parenting, so you may as well bring this guy over there and let them experience him as an individual. And I think it will force them to have to reconsider and challenge their thinking. I think, yes, you do want to prep this guy and let him know, hey, here's the deal. And the third piece that I would offer, Nick, is probably to let him know where you stand, and tell him, hey, I value my family. They're important to me and I want them to like you. But if I'm pushed between these two alternatives, I'm going to choose myself and I'm going to choose, being authentically me and let them have time to deal with that on their end. So don't feel like you're being judged. And if they don't like you, it's over. Just come be charming, be you. And if it doesn't work out, there's no risk to you. This thing is going to be allowed to be its natural relationship.
Good advice. Yeah, I like that.
So I'm interested in what the listeners think too. If you're out there and you've got some experience with this, we'd love to have you jump on to podtherapy.net, tell your stories, give us some feedback. I'm sure Morgan wants to jump on there and just get as much as she can. So great question, Morgan. Good luck to you. And please let us know how it turns out. One of our favorite things is getting feedback. How did you ultimately decide to move forward? And if you used any portion of our advice, what did you use? How did it play out? We love to hear the stories.
Yeah. And if everything we told you was horrible, let us know.
Yeah, that's right. Let us know that our advice is worthless. And, that's good. No, that's good feedback. So on that note, we'll jump to our next question. And Nick, this one's going to knock your socks off. This one is a great question. Oh, my goodness. I had to reread it several times. It's like, oh, my gosh. This one is intense. So, okay, here's the question. It comes from the writer All Sorts of Awkward. And the question is, my stepbrother won't stop flirting with me. And here's what she writes. I'm a 30-year-old female and I live in my parents' second home. My 18-year-old stepbrother got into a nearby college, so my dad and stepmom moved him into my house and he commutes to school. Things started getting weird with my stepbrother a few months ago after he moved in. When I would go downstairs, he'd come down too and sort of just stand around the same room as me, sometimes making small talk, but other times pretending like he had a reason to come down as well. Once I was minding my own business, petting my cat, and my stepbrother came over and crowded me and pet the cat at the same time. Another time I was cleaning up a mess on the floor, so I squatted down and my stepbrother came over and leaned up against the wall, like a foot away, and just stared at me. When I called him out on how weird that was, and that he wasn't just going to sit there and watch silently as I cleaned, he claimed that he was watching in order to, quote, learn how to clean. Then he finally confirmed my suspicions by basically accusing me of flirting with him one day. It was a totally normal conversation, and he randomly peppered in something about how this feels like flirting. I was taken aback and revolted and didn't do a very good job of hiding my disgust. I told him I didn't interact with him or treat him any differently than I did my other brother. I've been avoiding my stepbrother as best as I can. I spend less time in the common rooms of the house and leave my bedroom less in general. I hate feeling uncomfortable in my own home. I've made it clear to my stepbrother that I find his behavior and comments inappropriate and frankly repulsive, but he hasn't changed. I don't want to tell my parents as it might cause conflict in their marriage, and I don't want to risk losing the chance to live in their extra house. What should I do?
Yeah, you're right. That one is...
That's a big one.